Well, one of the things I love about this statewide radio show and about Montanans in general is we don't just talk about things. We don't just talk about problems. We find solutions to problems, and we just get things done. Hey, Aaron Flint here with Montana Talks. I want to welcome all of you across the state of Montana to this special live broadcast from the Montana Equipment Dealers Association. 111 years running. We got a great crowd in the house here. So we've got a full live show for you here, broadcasting live from the Whitefish Lake Lodge in beautiful Whitefish, Montana. We've got equipment dealers from all across Montana here. And so we're actually going to have a live panel discussion that's part of this convention. So we've got an audience in the house here, and then we're also getting a chance to share that with you, the listeners, all across Montana. Let's kick things off right away here. Adam Gilbertson is a vice president for RDO Equipment and just elected president of the board for the Montana Equipment Dealers Association. So how about a round of applause for Adam Gilbertson? And Adam, congrats to you. Adam, RDO Equipment, you've got operations all across Montana. Talk about just the state of the economy right now. I mean, I just saw some numbers earlier this morning. This was from the Heritage Foundation. Real median household income, the amount earned by those in the very middle class hit $65,000 in 2019 dollars for the 12 months ending in July. Highest level ever, and a gain of about $4,000 just in the last 2 to 3 years. So we know the economy is going strong, but what are you seeing in the equipment industry?
Yeah, I think what I'm going to do is I'll probably try to speak from the construction side of it, and we've got a number of panelists here that are really focused on the ag side, so maybe that helps as we look across the state. And I would tell you, as far as how the economy looks, we're cheering for a long fall. It's been a little bit wet this year. It's been hard to get projects done across the state, and we're really hoping for one of those long, warm falls to get the work done across the state. Yep. But I would tell you, people are pretty optimistic about where things are.
Yeah, you talk about fall. I drove through Valier on the way up to Whitefish, and man, you could just tell everybody was just sopped in there, and all that snow that piled up after that 4 feet of snow hit Browning and other parts of the state. Yeah, just got hit hard. So now everybody's digging out and putting that construction equipment to work.
Indeed,
to get their shop back open.
One of the things that I think, as we paint the picture in our industry of the need, I pulled a little bit of information from a national level. In the last year, there are about 4,000 jobs that are an immediate need nationally in the heavy equipment technician realm. Give you a kind of a scope of what that looks like. In the next 5 years, they're expecting that number to be 20,000 across the United States. The industry itself has about 280,000 technicians, and in 2016, it was growing at about a 9% pace. For us, and part of the reason we're here with a theme this year about educating our future workforce, is the tech schools across the country graduated 9,700 people in a year to fill that emerging need. It's about a third of what's actually needed. So it's a pretty big concern. The other part of that problem we have is the reality that workforce is aging. The average age of a technician across the United States right now is 44 years old. So the ability to bring new people into the economy, into this industry, is really important for us to continue to meet the needs in construction.
Yeah, and that's one of the challenges. We know the economy is strong out there, but how do you fill all these jobs that are available? We hear it not just from you and your friends in the equipment business, but from all sectors of the Montana economy right now. They're actually developing some solutions, and they're working with Montana educators and school officials to do that, and a lot of it got its start in Conrad, Montana, and thanks to equipment dealers and educators in Conrad, Montana. Live from the Whitefish Lake Lodge with the Montana Equipment Dealers Association convention. Great to be with you here this morning. Let's jump right into it. So we're starting with a focus on the economy here, but then we're gonna talk about some of the solutions that are being developed right now to actually deal with this need for more workers in these industries. First, let's check in with Eastern Montana. We've got Tammy Christensen here from Tri-County Implement out of Sidney, Montana. Tammy, talk about how things are looking in Eastern Montana.
You know, things in Sidney are progressing. All of you know that we're on the edge of the Bakken oil boom, and we were affected by that a few years ago. Things have slowed down from what they were. But I would say we're holding steady. I'm on the city council. You know, we're still being progressive about what we need to do there. Great crops this year. Unfortunately, the moist we've had in the last 3 weeks, we got to be close to 20 inches of rain, which has caused us some issues. Grain is sprouted, safflower is sprouted. We've put off beet harvest until October 10th as of yesterday. And so it's been a little challenging, but things are good. I mean, I think we're still stable. We'll continue doing what we're doing, and, you know, they will get the crops out. It's going to be a challenging month, but that's okay. We've been through it before. We'll go through it again. So overall, I would say eastern Montana is good, and we're picking up a little bit from North Dakota because it is booming a little more in North Dakota, and I have to say the oil has been good for our business. Not only do we do a lot of ag work, we do a lot of truck repair, and it's been good for us. On that note, we have been down 2 technicians for a year, which is really a challenge because trying to get people to move to eastern Montana is not the easiest thing. But we'll get there.
Yeah, and Brian Hoven here with Hoven Equipment out of Great Falls. I know that you got an economic update. Dr. Pat Barkey from the University of Montana Bureau of Business and Economic Research was here. But you're pretty optimistic about the Great Falls area economy.
Great Falls is a great place to live. It's a great community. We have just a tremendous outdoor activities year-round. The only negative is the wind blows occasionally. From an ag industry perspective, we had really good crops this year. Unfortunately, the prices are down, commodity prices, calf prices, but they'll come back. I did want to deviate just a little bit from the economy and put some emphasis on what Brad said. You know, the people of Montana, you really need to know about the opportunities, employment opportunities that exist in the construction industry, the farm equipment industry, and the automobile dealership industries. There are tremendous job opportunities there that pay from $35,000 to $80,000 a year. And you don't need a college education for these jobs. You need to get interested. The 10th graders, we need to get your young people interested in these jobs and this, thinking about this as a potential career, because we do provide a lot of opportunities, and the opportunity to get in and grow, and then, you know, the sky's the limit on what you can do in these industries. So.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about that. We've got Cheryl Allen here from the Office of Public Instruction. Prior to being at OPI in Helena, though, she was the superintendent of schools in Conrad, Montana. So I think folks are really going to enjoy hearing what they're doing to get kids jobs, good jobs already in high school. We're not talking waiting until they get out of high school, waiting until they get done with college. They're getting good jobs already right now thanks to this trades academy that they've got up and running. They're already starting this pilot project. Other operators in the room, you know, the technology piece. Tammy kind of hit on, you know, needing more technicians. Who wants to jump in on this technology discussion? Because shop class isn't your old shop class like it used to be. Adam Brown with Frontline out of Conrad. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. So the stereotype of the diesel mechanic has changed. It's not the oily, greasy guy, you know, coming out of the shop and working in the dust. I mean, there's still a lot of that, but they have to be fairly sound with computers and savvy with the technology and that piece. And so the education that's there is vital for these kids and these technicians nowadays. And what better way to get that skill than the younger generation and these kids in high school who are dealing with that every single day. All their learning is done from some kind of electronic device, and you know, just everyone's dealing with the same issue with the staffing. Unemployment, Montana is 3.3% for the preliminary numbers for the month of August, down from 3.4. Essentially, that means if someone doesn't have a job in the state of Montana, they probably aren't trying too hard to get one. And it's not just a Montana issue. You know, Idaho's at 2.4%, North Dakota's at 2.9%. So we got to get creative with our recruiting, and that's leveraging an untapped workforce, which is the younger generation who haven't entered the workforce yet.
Yeah, here we are broadcasting live from the Whitefish Lake Lodge here from the Montana Equipment Dealers Association. So the Billings schools had this recruitment fair, but it was for kids to get linked up with businesses. to get jobs right now. Good jobs that could lead to good careers. Well, that's something, this pilot project that the Montana Equipment Dealers Association and that the Office of Public Instruction are actually already working on right now. So we're going to talk more about that here on Montana Talks as we broadcast live from the Montana Equipment Dealers Association convention here this morning. I want to go next to Tim Schultz with C&B Operations. Okay, you got operations all across eastern Montana and northern Wyoming. Tim, talk a little bit about this technology piece and how, it isn't your old shop class like you would have thought of it from decades before, and just how the economy is looking in your neck of the woods.
Okay, thanks. So we certainly have some challenges in the economy. We've had struggles with the amount of moisture we've had, as we talked earlier, with the crops struggling getting out. It was sure a late spring. It's continued to be a late summer, cool throughout summer. So the economy is the direct relation to whether we're going to get the crops out and how those crops look as they're coming out of the fields. But the technician side of things is certainly a struggle. It is very interesting, though. So many people do not understand the technicians we have today and what they do and what they look like are so different from in the past. I mean, where we've got actually tractors communicating with our service manager, sending them emails telling them, hey, we're out of fuel, or we're out of DEF, or we've got this problem, it's a hiccup. That's the technology that our technicians today are dealing with. So it's not necessarily dive deep into the grease and come out filthy. They're dealing with the technology of tomorrow.
And I'm assuming you're facing the same worker shortage, skilled worker shortage that all the other equipment dealers here on this panel have been telling us about.
Yeah, most definitely. I'm responsible for the Billings location. We've been looking. We actually hired 6 technicians this last summer. Unfortunately, only 2 of them had real technical training. So we were putting bodies into places where we really needed technicians. So some of the things I'm hearing about the education coming down from OPI is very, very exciting to us, so we can get those young kids. And I think that's where it needs to start, is get those freshmen, sophomore in high school, get them excited about the opportunities that we have and the equipment businesses and the dealerships across Montana offer. There's some great paying jobs, and it's some great opportunity for growth and enhancements too.
Yeah, in fact, I was talking earlier this morning, I was talking with State Senator Lou Jones, who's in the room here this morning as well, with with Frontline Equipment out of Conrad, Montana, and it was just cool talking with him because he's saying, look, all these communities, it used to be that we just pushed everybody to go get that 4-year liberal arts education. And now people are waking up saying, no, we need to focus on trade skills again. We need to fill these great jobs. And plus, these kids can go get these jobs right now and not have that pile of student loan debt facing them. And so they can actually get out there and enjoy their weekends with that extra cash instead of just paying off a student loan bill. And speaking of Conrad, Montana, this whole idea really got its start in Conrad, Montana with Frontline Ag Solutions. We've got now, she's the former superintendent of schools in Conrad, Montana, and now working with Superintendent of Public Instruction, Elsie Arnson, at the OPI, the Office of Public Instruction. Cheryl Allen is with us now. So you started this Trades Academy in Conrad, Montana. Talk about how that idea came about and what it now has led to across the state.
Well, it's interesting that we had Trades Academy in our strategic thinking process for about 2 years, and I had shared that with others of where we were headed. I got a call from the past president, Daniel Jones, saying, hey, my mom and dad told me you've got this idea on Trades Academy. Can you get on a call with the Montana Equipment Dealers Association and let's talk? So got on a call, got on another call, got on another call. And they said, we just need a school system that will work with this. And I said, okay, I'll play. And I had a very, very strong board that firmly believed in the trades. And so Daniel said, I think I can get Frontline to agree. I said, but there's one requirement. And so for all of you thinking about this, and I said, here's the deal. This is the make or break deal. You have to give us access to John Deere University. We've got to use the industry standards for our students because we don't know in education necessarily what those are, but you know what you want. And so I know that Frontline went to work and did magic to make that happen.
And so what we're telling these young people is, hey, broaden your horizon of the opportunities that are out there. I mean, when I was a kid, I stuffed newspapers at the small town paper, and then I, washed dishes at the restaurant and was a busboy and a waiter. Because that's what I knew was out there available. But now what you're saying is there's opportunities where you can, in high school, your kid can get a job or start in an apprenticeship type program, internship type program, with these equipment dealers or in other industries, and as Lou Jones described it, walk in their shoes and get some on-the-job training while you're still in high school.
And equally important to that, Aaron, is the idea of when you're using the industry standard of learning, all of a sudden it shifts for kids that, oh, this is real. This is the real stuff. And as they watch people working, because they do unpaid intern time on shop work, and they see that, they get to hear about those technicians that went through the same thing. And now it's like, oh, this is real. And that is highly motivating to young people.
And they're getting trained on computers, they're getting trained on technology. The other great point that Senator Lou Jones made earlier this morning is saying, look, we can't just go to every community and build some fancy new multi-million-dollar shop. We can't buy all of the equipment that is needed to train these young people in trades education. He said, why are you going to buy a $500,000 piece of equipment when you got one right down the street? You got a $500,000 combine right down the street. That's the shop class. Send the kids from the schools to that shop class right there with the instructors that are working that equipment. It's not like the old Briggs Stratton, I think he said back in the day, where you just work on that little motor in the shop.
Absolutely. You have the idea that's behind the Trades Academy. It's not about building new bricks and mortars. And I have visited with many school districts that are caught in that idea that we've got to build a $30 million facility. And when we say, well, actually, you've got those facilities all around you, it's like, oh, I never thought of that. And what an exciting partnership to have for schools, to have those partnerships direct to industry, because at the end of the day, the winner is kids. And so when that's my work. I've been a sword carrier my whole life for kids. And this is the opportunity. So it solves problems for kids, gives opportunities, and it solves industry problems, which means it solves community problems. And my goodness, we want our Montana kids in Montana becoming contributing taxpayers, active citizens, and a good life.
Keeps your kids here. It fills the jobs that are needed here, and that's only going to continue to stimulate our local economy. Yeah, Cheryl, now with the OPI, and got her start, well, not her start, but started this program in Conrad, but you've worked across the country, and so, but a Fairfield, Montana native. So, great to have you here. We're broadcasting live 111 years of the Montana Equipment Dealers Association. We're at their convention with this live panel discussion broadcast statewide on the radio. We've also got a room full of folks here attending the convention, and so during the breaks, we'll see if they've got some questions for our panelists. Joining us on the panel, we've got Tammy Christensen with Tri-County Implement out of Sydney, Adam Gilbertson with RDO Equipment, and Brian Hoven Equipment out of Great Falls, Adam Brown with Frontline Equipment out of Conrad, and Tim Schultz with C&B Operations. Adam Gilbertson, newly elected president of the board for the Montana Equipment Dealers Association. When you hear Cheryl talk about this program, what goes through your mind?
Yeah, I'm really excited. I think this opportunity to build a better partnership at our local schools with business in the local community. One of the other things as you talk about this investment in infrastructure that a school would need to capture to have this program in that school. Today, that tractor is a great tractor, but 3 or 4 years from now, there will be new technology out that's going to improve the workflow, make that machine more efficient. And if we bought the one today for a school to have a program, 3 years, 4 years from now, we're now talking about old technology. Whereas if you've got this in the real business atmosphere, that new machine, the new training, the new infrastructure that's got to support those machines is already in place. And having that available to you is really an invaluable tool.
So are these opportunities available right now? I guess maybe talk about some of the opportunities if some of the panelists want to jump in. What are some of the opportunities that are out there right now?
Yeah, I think each of us has different programs, and we could go through and highlight them, but all of us have programs that'll allow a high school intern to come into our businesses. In addition to that, If somebody does want to go on to that 2-year or 4-year technical degree, there are some great schools here in Montana. We're very fortunate to have schools like MSU Northern, the program in Butte. We've got a great program in Missoula and Billings and Miles City. We've got those schools to send them on to that higher part of education. But you got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah, yep. And you can start it in high school. You don't have to wait, and sometimes you don't even have to go get that 4-year degree. But and of course, we've got great programs like Montana Tech. I know Montana Tech's in the house here as well. We got a great panel up here with us at the Montana Equipment Dealers Convention. Tammy Christensen out of Sydney, Adam Gilbertson with RDO Equipment, Cheryl Allen from the Office of Public Instruction, Brian Hoven Equipment, Adam Brown with Frontline Equipment, and Tim Schultz with CMB Operations. During the commercial break there, we took a couple questions from the crowd out here, and there was a couple of great questions, which is, okay, well, how does this work if you're getting high school kids to start working in these, in this, where the trades education, where the shop is basically your shop, your equipment dealer, or whatever your business might be. How does it work? What can they do at different age levels? Are there restrictions? How is the insurance covered? All those types of things. So Cheryl Allen, from OPI's perspective, what guidance do you have for folks?
So 2 things. So let's talk about the age issue. When you're looking at educational experiences, you'll have children down to age 12 that are working with equipment such as saws and hammers. And because it's in an educational environment that's taught safety, that's not an issue. They're not being paid. The issue that happens is when you start paying them. And so that leads into the internship. As long as it's an unpaid internship, the school district's liability insurance will cover that student regardless of where that job training experience or where that internship experience. As soon as you transfer that to a paid experience, then all of those other rules kick in and it becomes the liability of the dealership. So we strongly encourage the unpaid internship because it's good for kids, it addresses age issues, and it's highly motivating for kids knowing they're working on industry skills towards that end goal.
And then oftentimes it ends up leading to a very good paying job at the end of it, down the road anyway. And to get it from kind of the business perspective as well, well, first off, I should probably say if folks are interested in getting their business a part of this program, this Trades Academy, anybody, or if they want to get their kid involved, or they want to get their school involved, it's a pilot project going on at a handful of locations across Montana. Probably just contact Cheryl Allen at OPI. Would that probably be best, Cheryl?
Sure, or contact the Meta office, and they can certainly help direct them as well.
Yeah, the Montana Equipment Dealers, because they've just been front and center on this as well. So, yeah, of course, before you were at OPI, you were the superintendent of schools in Conrad, Montana. And, of course, that's the home of Frontline Ag Solutions, and, of course, Lou Jones here from Frontline as well. Adam Brown, from your perspective, as from the business perspective, how has this been implementing this program? How beneficial has it been? Because I can imagine there's some folks out there that are like, wait a minute, you want to bring high school kids in here? Now I got to babysit these high school kids. How's it actually worked out for you?
Yeah, and it's still an evolving process. We kind of hit the ground running in January with our first pilot group, and we had 3 kids involved, and 1 was a junior, and then 2 were freshmen. And kind of speaking to what Cheryl talked about, it is critical to have an engaged service manager. It is so critical to have that person engaged in the process. And kind of like what you're talking when we're talking with work comp and labor laws and with child labor, it's they need to be supervised. It needs to be structured. But it's definitely a win-win. Like we talk about, we get a kid who's excited. Too many times are we trying to fit that square peg in a round hole with these kids going off to college, and it gets these kids a path that they didn't know was there. I can stay in small town Montana and make a really good living until dad's ready to let go of the farm, and absolutely we can. So we've seen the successes already. We had the 3 kids who we kind of were selective with for the first program. Before school started this last year in August, we interviewed up to 9 more. I already have 15, 16 kids coming to my office asking about how do they get involved in this program. So it's already taken off. It's the success stories. We already have 1 young man, the junior, who started last year. He went to a 4-year class in Columbus, Ohio, in August, and he came back. He is a core certified John Deere technician in John Deere's eyes, and he's just starting his senior year of high school. And so, I mean, it's cool. The kid, in just to back a little bit, I coached him in high school football. He was one of the kids that was kind of behind the scenes, kind of had his head hanging a little bit low, didn't say so much. That young man walks around that dealership like he owns the place. I mean, he's so excited. He's phenomenal. He's learning. So I mean, it's definitely a win-win. We've already seen this pay for itself 10 times fold. So it's been an awesome
Who
experience.
knows? He may own the place someday.
He
You never
might.
know. I don't know.
He might have my job. So.
Yeah, well, that's remarkable, and it's cool too. You think about the folks in this room that help farmers put in that next crop, put in that new crop, raise that new crop, or the construction folks that help raise that new building or put that new road in. He's got his FFA banner here, so he is focused on raising that next crop and that next generation. So good to see. Tammy Christensen out of Sidney, Montana, with Tri-County Implement. I hear a lot of people, calling the radio show. Too many kids are being told that they have to just get a 4-year liberal arts degree. We don't focus on the trades education. I'm assuming you agree with that. Give us kind of your take. But also, I think this is great that now you got like the Montana equipment dealers and OPI working on actual solutions, not just complaining about the problems out. We don't have people to fill jobs. No, here's our plan to fill these jobs.
Actually, it's kind of funny because I was one of those mothers that told my son, yes, you will get a 4-year degree. And he's an overachiever, so he got it in 3.5 out of Havre. And yet his father and I both went to Helena Bow Tech, as it was called back then, and got 2-year degrees. And I guess we're an example that, you can own a business and be successful without a 4-year degree. I mean, it worked for us. And I'm excited about this because we have so many kids in school that hate school. But now they can have a purpose and they can go on and get a good job, not only during school, but right out of school. And I mean, a diesel tech in Sidney, Montana, with a few years' experience, we're talking over $30 an hour. That's a good job. And if you could do it without having debt and, coming out of school, I think that's a great thing. And for us, what we need for the future is kids who are customer service oriented. They have to have some sort of diagnostic skills, which we've talked about over and over, that, being a technician, yes, it's still turning wrenches, but it's really, can you run your cell phone? Can you run a computer? And they need to be self-motivated. So if you give these kids a purpose, they're going to be self-motivated. So I am really excited about this program. I mean, I'm going home to talk to our school and our school board, and I know it's going to take some time to get it off the ground. We are also just about to go to a 4-day school week, and we had a conversation at our board meeting this week that actually that might be a great thing for this program because they can do their technical work all week, and on Fridays they can come work all day. So, I see a win-win in that.
It's great, and you're connecting them with entrepreneurs that can mentor these young folks, too, into a variety of sectors of the economy. Brian Hoven with Hoven Equipment out of Great Falls. I know you've seen this not only from the business standpoint, but also, through the legislature, the state legislature. And so give us your take from the legislative standpoint, because it really did take some legislative maneuvering to get a program like this up and running. But it also, this redefines the concept of shop class. I think even talking with Lou Jones earlier, it redefines home ec class. Okay, instead of doing home ec in a classroom, why don't you go work at the bakery down the street? I mean, just any whether it's medical, go to the hospital. I mean, you can really apply this in a variety of different sectors of the economy.
Well, I think you're absolutely right, and quite frankly, Lou Jones deserves all of the credit for marshaling these bills through the legislature. He did a wonderful job of. He uses the term leverage, and it works well. And Lou is a master at it. So Lou really deserves the credit for everything that's happened here. And with that, I'm really excited about the program. Just like Tammy said, and it's incumbent upon all of us in this room, when we go back to our communities, is to talk to our school boards and our educators to try and get them on board, because the idea that our capital investments in our communities can be the educational facility for these kids is just phenomenal. It helps the taxpayers, it helps everyone. And our facilities are changing all the time because they have to keep up. So if we can get kids in there to learn from Bobcat University or from whatever, it's just a win-win for everyone. And again, parents out there, there's tremendous opportunities in these farm equipment dealerships, construction equipment dealerships, and automobile dealerships. So keep your eyes on those. Encourage your kids to visit them, talk to them.
And it's just great too that and nobody's bashing a 4-year degree
No.
either, because those are important. Those have a role. In fact, Montana Tech grads make more than Harvard grads. With some of the recent stats we've seen. Adam Gilbertson with RDO Equipment.
I think it's important to point out there, this really isn't a fight between 4-year and 2-year trades and the traditional preparatory of college. Half of our population in Montana is not doing that. Yeah. So we've got to find the pathway for them. It's not a zero-sum game argument at all. We've got kids that are leaving high school without an opportunity, and we can help connect them to a great job.
Did you ever see yourselves basically getting into education the way you're now getting into education, going from being equipment dealers?
I think many of us throughout the dealerships have put time in community services. I was on the school board for 9 years in the little town of Joliet. But we didn't really think we were down to the traditional education. We weren't thinking outside of the box. One thing I guess I'd like to bring up that I think really opened my mind up here the last couple of days listening to some of the things that Cheryl and her program have been doing is there is that group of kids that they're just never ventured for that 4-year school or maybe even a 2-year school. But they're good with their hands. They're problem solvers. They're kids that just need a direction. And I think as we invite those kids into our dealership and expand this program, we're going to save some kids. Maybe make a future for kids that don't have one now or don't have a great home, maybe struggle economically, and we can find out that they can get into a service industry that is got a great future, also working with the greatest people in the world. I mean, our farm and ranch personnel with construction people, they're down-to-earth people that will do anything for the right people, and it's a great marriage and a great relationship. So,
have some of you been hearing some success stories out there? Because I know Lou Jones was telling me earlier about just one young man in particular. This was a life changer because he didn't know that he could have this type of an economic opportunity. Grew up in a poorer home and just didn't have any entrepreneurs in the family. Cheryl, I'm assuming from OPI, you've got to see some successes firsthand.
Absolutely, we see successes firsthand related to youth and opportunities. And so it moves kids into the path of hope. It moves kids into the path of hope. And it's an untapped pipeline because we usually look after the high school experience to say, now what? And we need to back that the opposite direction. As some of you are already working on that element to say, let's build these opportunities earlier, let's get this brand loyalty, let's get these seeds planted earlier for kids. And I can tell you there's kids that'll say, I'm going to be just like him. I'm going to be just like her because of taking advantage of opportunities that are now opening. Hence their eyes are opening wider to possibilities where before it was just go to college.
And I really like that point that Adam Gilbertson made just before the break too, which is it's not really an either or decision here. It's just some kids are better with these types of skills and some kids are better with these other types of skills, and that for too long we only focused on these types of kids instead of these. Now we're focusing on every kid has that opportunity is kind of how it looks like. Any final thoughts from anybody else here? We got a couple minutes left here. Adam Gilbertson, go ahead.
The one thing I want to, there's a lot of interest out there. I was thinking about some things that have happened this summer. Billings had its first ever Dig It Days event, which brought kids out to see equipment, construction, ag, do all these things, machines that touch the ground. 1,000 people showed up. Missoula, a few more years down the line of doing an event like this with the Montana Contractors Association, 2,500 kids, parents showed up to spend a day with these machines. And then we got Bozeman that does a big fundraiser every year that 5,000 people showed up here just a couple months ago, see these machines, get out, be a part of it, and there's just this passion around it. So there's that interest is there. I think it's just how do we connect the dots?
That's a good point. It kind of draws people out. They love big equipment. I mean,
Yeah.
especially kids. It's like going to the air show. It's kind of like the ground show, I guess you might call it, the
That's
ground
right.
game. But yeah, and of course, Adam Gilbertson, a Iraq War veteran. So thanks for your service. And I know you know, and that's the other thing too is we got veterans coming home from overseas and leaving active duty, and these are great opportunities for our veterans that are out there as well. Any other final thoughts from anybody in the room here? Cheryl, how can folks get a hold of you? I know they can get a hold of the Montana Equipment Dealers Association as well, but if they want to see more trades academies, they want to see their school a part of it, again, let us know how they can get a hold of you.
Yep, call the Office of Public Instruction, and they will get the messages to me.
All right, and of course, get a hold of the Montana Equipment Dealers Association. Brad Griffin, Valerie McClintock here with a great convention. Thanks again, and Adam Gilbertson, congrats on being elected the new president of the board for the Montana Equipment Dealers Association. A beautiful day here in Whitefish, Montana. Want to thank everybody for joining us across the state